experts and people who can help us really figure out how we're going to tackle food insecurity in the Bahamas. And that's what we've done this evening. So in a minute, I'm going to sit down and have a conversation with these fabulous people. But just for a moment, I would like to share just some more about the work that Hands for Hunger does. 1 second. Could we maybe... Thank you. All right, now this is it. Experiments at Hands for Hunger. They no to the things that they don't want. So if you imagine a person coming in, they're a bit down on their luck, but like Vanessa said, you know, they're working. Sometimes 2 jobs, but they just can't cover the food for their family. Emergency supply of food in their drawer for the kids that are Are we good to go? Yes, we are. Okay. So here we are with our fabulous panel. To my left, we have Romero Dorset of Showman E-Bistro. To my immediate right, I have Kentisha Ward, who is with the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. And to the end, we have Mr. Antonio Hall of Greenleaf Farms. So I'm going to start off really briefly. Kentisha, could you tell us about who you are and what it is that you do about food insecurity in the Bahamas?
Not a problem, Keisha. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and speak upon food security, sustainability, and sovereignty here in the country. So my name is Kentisha Ward. I'm currently the National Lead Consultant for the Food and Agricultural Organization here in the Bahamas. We are currently working on an agribusiness incubator on the islands of Grand Bahama and also Abaco to actually facilitate the capacity building in knowledge and also production and also business management for farmers on those islands so that they do have the tools to be able to scale up their farming. We know that farmers exist, we know that we need more farmers, but how do we work with the local farmers to actually scale their production and also scale their ability to do business with banking and also with larger institutional markets? I'm also here on behalf of Grow the Food Lab. You guys may have heard of this revolutionary idea that my business partner and I both came up with, which is a FDA, the first FDA certified facility, shared processing facility and shared kitchen space for farmers to be able to have access for their wastage to process them into final goods. So we have persons like Antonio who can now come and bring his final goods and turn them into maybe a basil pesto and actually package it and distribute it on a wholesale level. Even Romero can come there and actually be able to prepare large-scale meals. If he did not have his wonderful Showman Bistro location on Mackey Street, he can come to our facility and utilize our shared kitchen space for only an hourly wage, instead of having to pay a down payment on electricity, rent, lease, but he could also do it in an FDA-regulated facility.
So, not to
no problem.
But I wanted to expand on something that you're saying. So, what we found, so food waste is a big no-no here at Hands. We like to see everything being used. So what you're saying is that, so you have a local farmer that perhaps can't sell all of their produce while it's still fresh and pretty in the way that people like it. So in Grow the Lab, they'll be able to come and process at the facility that you set up.
So the farmer themselves can actually process, but they actually will have options. Farmers are not processors. Farmers are farmers. So now we can now take those goods off their hands, whether they're shipping them in from the islands or they're local. We can process it for them. So we can give the farmers time to focus on farming, or we can give their outputs at a lower price to the processors who are locally using their own equipment or our equipment. One of the challenges processors have is they don't have enough materials to make their goods. We now have farmers who have excess materials and processors who have access to those excess materials, and chefs who can now use the final products of the processors to make final goods for hotels, restaurants, and us as food consumers as well.
All right, so we've been talking about farmers. Let's talk to the farmer.
Okay.
Antonio, could you tell us about what you do, what your passion is?
Okay, my name is Antonio Hall. Can everyone hear me? No?
There you go.
Good. There we go. All right, so my name is Antonio Hall. I am an architect turned farmer. I studied architecture in university, came back home, worked at two of the most prestigious companies in the Bahamas, and decided to bet on myself and follow my passion, which was always the soil. And so I left architecture in 2016, and I've been focusing on farming alone from 2016. So we specialize in growing culinary herbs, edible flowers, and microgreens. And we supply to a number of hotels, private yachts, private chefs, bars, other restaurants around town. We are a small site in an urban community. We are operating on a parcel of land that's 110 by 60, and we're able to be profitable on that.
Really? So you don't need acres and acres and acres in order to make your business work?
It depends, right? It was challenging for me to get agricultural land when I was seeking it. What I was able to do was purchase a parcel of land, which I did, which is adjacent to my parents' house. And And so I had to be very strategic in what it is I chose to grow. So a lot of research went into what it is that I started growing, the methods that I use. My site is, again, completely, well, I didn't say this before, but my site is completely soil-based. No hydroponics, no aquaponics. I know that's the new trend, but we love the dirt on our site. You know.
All right, let's hear from Romero. Romero, tell us a little bit about what you do and what you're passionate about.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
I think so.
Hello? Hello, hello? Hear me now? Yeah, we're just saying.
You good?
I get to begin me now? Okay, good night. All right, good night, everybody. My name is Romero Gossett. I am the proprietor of Showman Bahamas Limited and Showman Bistro. What I am, I'm a chef by profession, and what's my passion is culinary education. One of the things that we do, that we're a big proponent on in Showman, is educating our youth, bringing in the younger chefs while they are in internship and while they are at the culinary institutes, and we train them and we show them the best way forward. We put them into the field, we give them a lot of exposure, and we give them everything that they would need to possess a great career. Second to that, we are the leaders and innovators for everything culinary. A little too much in? Yeah. So we are the leaders for culinary innovation. We good now? A little too much going on there. Yeah, okay. Got me now? Good. All right, so we are the leaders in culinary innovation. We do a lot of research and development. We do a lot of technical stuff. We do a lot of, I guess, what are you doing? Oh yeah, that's much better. We do a lot of experimenting, and then we take that and we try to see what we can do with it in the market. I guess a lot of people would know us for the boxes that we would have done during the pandemic. What we saw was a need to have food readily available and have food locally sourced. So we partnered with my good friend Antonio, who's a dear friend, schoolmate and dear friend, and we came up with a good program that we would have been able to make food readily available for persons to purchase at a reasonable price. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of what we have going on. We have the restaurant as well, where we wanted to have a multicultural experience. So we have foods from every region, from North Africa to the Caribbean to South America to the Americas. And what we wanted was to bring a different vibe and a different culinary experience to Bahamians. So far that's doing exceptionally well.
And that is a perfect segue for what I actually want to talk about. It's the different culinary experience for Bahamians, right? So when we talk to our clients and we try to encourage them to, maybe make different choices to help their food insecurity, we found that a lot of people, it's not that they don't have access to food, it's that they only recognize food as it comes from the grocery store.
Right.
Right? And then when we talk to people, and this is a conversation that goes on everywhere. Oh, we need to go back to eating, the local food. Right? And so we actually really believe that at Hands for Hunger, that food insecurity looks as dire as it is if we're looking at buying food. Right? But if we're looking at accessing the food that's easy to grow, easy to access locally, then it begins to look a lot different.
Right.
Right? But when you tell people we should eat more local food, where does their mind go?
Right. So
Boiled provision.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe
Cassava.
some steamed cassava. So how do you think we can begin talking to people about locally accessible food that isn't, kind of the food that your great grandmother ate?
yeah, I think you have to make it attractive, right? I think for so many years we have looked at agriculture in a negative light.
Agreed.
We need to sort of reverse the thinking, right? And that's what I aim to do from 2016, and that's why I grow what I grow, to show that farming can be sexy, right? To show that you can have it in an urban community and it not be a nuisance to the surrounding neighbors. So I think if we take on more of an approach, see, farming isn't the issues that we're having now isn't a government issue, you know.
Right.
This is like a societal issue. Like
Yeah,
we need to start
cultural
to, our communities, we need to be ensuring that we have communal farms. People that live in the communities need to take part in the farms. And if they don't want to, then hire a farmer to do that, right? All we have are associations, right? So get an association to hire a farmer that can take care of a community farm, and everyone from that community can benefit. But it has to, we have to make more of an effort as a nation to make farming look attractive, because if it doesn't,
Well,
there's nothing that's going to happen.
well, from that standpoint, one of the things that we would have done at Showman is, with advice from Antonio, I would have called him up and like, hey, yo, I just got my BFS bill and this thing, sorry Jamal over there. So I said, I just got my BFS bill and this is atrocious, right? The cost of food is probably
and
doubled.
that is a global issue.
Yeah, it is,
right?
yes.
That's not a challenge
no disrespect
to
to
us. That's
yeah.
a global issue
Yeah.
that's really going on. So these kinds of conversations are conversations that are having in communities
Yeah.
all over the planet.
So yeah, so no disrespect to BFS, but however, you know, they're affected. They're in business to make money. So I mean, I understand it. However, when I'm getting my bill and I'm seeing it at 200% increase, I can't pass that on to my customers. So one morning I call Antonio. I'm like, yo, like I need to do some farming. Like, you know, I'm accustomed to various farmers. I know Sinclair from the back road, and I know a couple of people that I go out to on the Glasson Road Farmers Market. And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna have to do something. So what I did is I created raised beds. So like Antonio, I'm a real big proponent of soil-based products. So our goal is to be self-sufficient with produce within the next 6 to 8 months. And then from that, we want to be able to show people how they can do it, because I know there's a big backyard farming society that's in Nassau now. And we want to be able to show people how easy it is to grow their food, how easy it is to do methods of preparation, how it's easy to prepare different various varieties of food, because there's more to life than sweet potato, cassava, and tomato, right? So we want to show them how food can be exciting. We want to, like what we would have done in the past. We've done instructional videos, we've done tutorials, we've done live cooking sessions. So we want to do that. We want to continue on with the education of showing people that food is more than what we see readily available to us.
What I like about that is that once we start taking care of the things that we can take care of, then that allows more room for everything else.
Definitely.
Right? So
Definitely.
no one's suggesting that, okay, we could exist off of, lettuce, spinach, garlic, tomatoes. But once you have those things covered, then you find that you have more space to do some of
look
the
at
other
other
things.
things. I
Right?
agree.
So we talk about BFS, now you have more money for the specialty ingredients, right? When we talk about the cuisine from all around the world, once we're able to take care of the things that we can, that allows us more room for the other
Definitely.
things.
Well,
Definitely.
like Antonio would have said, the misconception is thinking that you need a large parcel of land. So I don't have a large parcel of land. I would have used the back of the restaurant. And then we have 2 trailers. So, because my dear friend is an architect, I'm like, yo, I got to go up top. So we went on top of the trailer, and we're now using on the top of the trailer because it's dead space. No one uses it. We can never get up there. So we built a stairway to go on top of the trailer, and then we're using that for our lettuce bed. So we're growing kale, arugula, red oak, spinach, all kind of stuff. I can't remember off the
So
top
it's
of my
like
head.
once you decide that this is valuable, right, that this is something that's important, then you find that the space kind of opens up for it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just to chime in, Keisha, chime into what both Antonio and also Romero said. Antonio spoke about making farming exciting, and Romero also talked about making food exciting. I think a lot of the things that we have here in the wastage can be turned into exciting things. So it's not always boiled cassava. Maybe it could be dehydrated cassava for
Absolutely.
maybe fufu,
Yep.
right? Or maybe
Yes, please.
which fufu is native to African cultures and also Haitian cultures. And if it's cooked in the right way, it could be native to pea soup and dumpling. So these same cassava flours, right, could be transformed into things that we eat. But Keisha, I do have a question, and I know you're here asking the questions. But when you walk into a Bahamian grocery store, how many Bahamian products do you really see on the shelf? If you guys can count 10, I think I may have a prize for you. It may be popsicles, but I may have a prize for you.
I'm happy to say that I'm seeing a lot more.
More coming. I definitely do agree.
I'm definitely seeing a lot more than I did all those years ago when I was a kid, right? So, and I'm pleased every time I do, and I am excited to see that, okay, they're making space for it.
Yes.
Right? So I have a feeling that as we get more, as we continue to have conversations like this, we'll definitely see a lot more. Because like Romero said, the retailers are feeling it as well.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want to pay duty. They don't want to pay to ship the food. And they're happy to buy it locally.
The good thing about it is my dear friend Antonio, when he has an excess product, he called me up and said, hey, yo, I got some extra basil. They go on to flour. I need to pick them. You need to do something with it. We have other farmers that do the same thing. They say, hey, we have too much stuff. Do something with it. So what we do is from time to time, we just cook up a bunch of stuff and then we donate it wherever we can within our community. So we don't always get to call hands for hunger for the food rescue.
And that's great. As long as you get it to the people who need it, no, that is our main goal. We'll still take the credit. And so I think that that's something that a lot of people don't realize. When we talk about businesses, big restaurants, resorts, big wholesalers and retailers, they want to buy locally. It's not that they don't want to, but a lot of times we're not able to meet the demand on a regular basis, exactly on a consistent basis. So these are the kind of conversations that we have. Again, just like with the farm, the space will open up for us when we actually have the products available.
So another thing I would like to chime in on as well is it's not the easiest thing to get into those spaces as a farm.
Definitely.
Right? So it was extremely challenging for us to get in with quite a number of the hotels simply because they were requiring a lot from us by way of insurance of $1 million and all of these things. And when calling the insurance companies, it's difficult to find that insurance to get crop coverage because that's not something that's common in our country, right? So I mean, fortunately, we were able to continue digging in, and we were fortunate enough to get that. But a lot of farmers don't know where to begin with that, you know. So I think more conversations like this need to be had. I think we need to bring more farmers to the table with chefs. We need to bring more farmers to the table with restaurant owners and have real conversations, real ones.
Right, exactly.
And also, Antonio, with some of the hotels and restaurants requires that those farmers grade their produce before being purchased so that they can make sure that they're purchasing some of the top of the line produce.
Absolutely.
With Grow the Food Lab, we will have a receiving bay where we're going to be able to grade the different produce that comes in via grade A, grade B, grade C. So grade A can go directly to the hotels so that we don't have to worry about so many different liability clauses. So that all of the farmers can now come together underneath one umbrella and be represented by Grow the Food Lab. Also, grade B could also be transferred to certain restaurants, and grade C can now be processed into final products with our processors who come to that facility. So some of those problems that farmers have, we could all come together to be able to create solutions and grow together. Definitely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So I have a question. So behind the scenes, these two gentlemen were talking about fishing, right? And how much they enjoy it. So, I mean, what about, you know, besides fruits and vegetables, what about livestock? Romero, have you found that it's easy to find kind of livestock and the meat that you need locally, or even fish, right?
Fish is readily available. However, one of the things that plagues the Bahamas with farmers and fishermen, the minute they get a couple of dollars in their pocket, they're gone, right? So you can't find nothing. And then the next issue is that everyone grows the same thing at the same time, and so it's sometimes it's difficult because like the other day we had an agency came by and say, hey, we have like 30 pallets of onions, like we need you guys to take this off our hands. I'm like, I mean, I'm not doing that kind of volume anymore, but you know, I wish I could. But that's some of the issues that we have. So livestock, when it comes to mutton, definitely yes, we have it readily available. Goat, yes, we have readily available. Fish, you would think we would have readily available, but we don't have access to fresh fish. I know it sounds silly, but we don't. We have access to a day-old to 2-day-old fish because
Is that a logistics issue?
It
or
is a
supply
logistics issue because the guys go out, they want to go out for a day or two to try to get as much fish as they want, and then they put on ice and then they come back. But when you have countries like Italy where the guys go out at 3 a.m. in the morning and they come back to the dock at 7 a.m. and then when they sing the song Fresh Fish, they really have fresh fish. We don't have that accessible like that.
Interesting.
Unless you're doing it yourself, you don't have access to it.
Right, so what I'm hearing is that it's a matter of communication. It's about us coming together as a community and laying into our strengths.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's no longer about doing everything for yourself.
Right.
We like to kind of romanticize the old days with subsistence farming and stuff like that, which was excellent, when the population was smaller.
Yeah.
But now we're talking on this scale and the volume that we want to do, it won't happen without collaboration.
Yeah.
It won't happen without
Agreed.
working together.
Yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we all have to collaborate in our own expertise and our own skills. When we start to do too many things, the marketer is for marketer. The marketer is for marketing. The farmer is for farming. The chef is for identifying flavors and tastes. So if we stick to our expertise, I think we can become sustainable as a country.
I mean, the beautiful thing about this panel is from time to time we all interact.
Yeah.
If we have questions, if I have a farming question, I call Antonio. If I have marketing or business, I call Kentisha from time to time. And when they have issues, they call me. So we have a tight-knit community where we can call one another, and we have other farmers and other business personnel that we can call. But it is difficult having that conversation.
Well, thank you all for, I think, really bringing to the forefront some of the challenges, right? So I think that in our heart of hearts, all of us want to eat locally, right? But these are some of the challenges that we're facing.
Right.
And I know that there are opportunities. We know that by coming together, we'll definitely find more ways to make it more accessible to people and to make it palatable. That's your job, right, Romero?
I try.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. This has been fabulous. It's really been nice talking to each of you. And we're actually going to bring on some other guests now. So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you so much for
Thank you
the
for having
opportunity,
us.
Keisha. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Always a pleasure. Actually, I pulled you from your workstation.
Yes.
You're over there prepping some food for us, right? So I'm actually going to start with Kyle. Kyle, tell us a little bit about kind of wine locally. Is there anything local happening with wine production?
Yeah, so when we think about wine, we think of this upskirt, far off world when it's so local, right? When we think about the process of making wine and what could be done here locally, wine is just fermented fruit, right? And so for us, we are accustomed to wine that's made from a grape, from the vinifera species. But if we were to look at any of our fruits and turn them into wine, just think about our sea grape, right? The full flavorness of our sea grape, and it being, for us, a local, not indigenous, but a local fruit. And we treat that the same way we treat the grape that we make our table wine, what could we end up with, right? It's not going to be of that same style, it's not going to be of that same quality, but if we understand what's happening with that grape, the style that we will end up with is something different. So for me, I always, when I bite into a very ripe sea grape, I'm thinking of a fortified wine, and right now Bahamians are drinking port like it's going out of style. And so for me, a fortified sea grape wine is next level kind of thing. But what we also have here on the table, I have a fantastic student of mine in Freeport who understands and has been studying and reading into this thing. And so he has local wild muscadine grapes in Freeport. And he fermented one out dry, and then he did one in a fortified style. And so I'm like, okay, just to the previous conversation, now we're making agriculture, farming, food, sexy.
Okay, so we can be making wine here.
We can.
All right, so pineapple wine is a real thing that should be common. We should be having it all the time.
We think about right now, Mia Mottley, the Prime Minister, President of Barbados, you know, they're huge on a fruit wine industry, right? Quebec. So I studied wine in Canada. Quebec is a fruit wine, base. You know, we talk about apple cider here. They talk about apple wine.
Right.
Right. And so, absolutely. Erin Green, I was just talking to her a few days ago, and she spoke about, a few years ago when she was making tamarind wine. It sounds good. It makes sense. It's a fruit.
So if you could choose a native fruit to make your first wine out of, what would it be? What would you go to first off?
Honestly, I'm going to sea grape, and it's going to be a fortified style, 18-19% alcohol. We like a little bit of fruitness, we like a little bit of sweetness, but we like a nice little kick to our kind of thing.
That sounds good. We're going to hold you to that.
Super.
Chef Jamal, do you like cooking with native ingredients?
I love it.
Yeah.
That's no other way. You mean, of course. Yes, I do.
All right. What are some of your favorite kind of local products to use?
So basically, I love freshly slaughtered pig, hog, suckling pig.
Is that easy to find here?
Yes.
Okay.
Farmers.
Yes.
Even at Cisco, we got a farmer that brings in suckling pigs, and we distribute.
That's excellent. I didn't even realize that. Okay.
Yeah, we do, and the flavor is just different. So we get that local homegrown flavor. It's just to the next level. We just take it and you run with it.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. What else? What else do you like to cook with locally? Can I put you on the spot?
Of course.
Okay.
Mutton, and of course our vegetables, our provisions.
So that's what I'm going to ask you. So I have a love affair with cassava, right? I just think it's the epitome of, kind of root vegetable,
starchy,
down home.
rich, yes.
It's of the earth, right?
Correct.
The Arawaks were eating cassava, right? So it's one of those things that I think, and it connects us with so many indigenous cultures around the world.
Definitely, because you could take that so versatile.
Right. So when I go home tomorrow, right, and I'm trying to put this into practice, what's something that I should do with cassava besides boil it?
You make French fries a little bit. You could actually make a pasta dish. You could make gnocchi with cassava.
Can I do that though? Or this is just a
no,
theory.
you could actually do that. You can actually do that. It's still the same method. You just take a step, whereas you have to actually drain the cassava. So that moisture that you get from boiling it, you make it nice and tender. You actually put it in a little cheesecloth or in the strainer and refrigerate it and let it drain, let that moisture just drain off. And then you follow the same gnocchi recipe. And you got perfectly.
I am intrigued. I'm going to try that.
Flavors, rich and bold.
That sounds lovely.
I want a competition doing that.
So that means you should be making it for me then.
Definitely. Just say when.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else? Seriously, because gnocchi sounds awesome, amazing. Give me something I can actually do though.
Okay. I give you an example. My provision tacos.
Okay.
My provision tacos. Coconut milk, onions from the farm.
Yes.
You got your bell peppers, Scotch bonnet or habaneros, fresh thyme. You don't have the local thyme. And you just cook it down, coconut oil. Just like how you start a rice pot.
Right. Everyone knows that. Every person who's watching this knows how to start a rice pot.
And then you put that coconut milk and then you let it nicely reduce and get aromatic, and you just blanch your vegetables and a little bit of salted water, and you just fold it in, and it just absorbs all the flavors of the coconut milk.
Amazing.
And
Kyle, can you think of a bottle to go with that meal?
I'm thinking a chef is talking about textures, cooking methods, fresh herbs, fresh spices, provision vegetables. That's a lot of things that's coming to play. So I'm thinking of we need asset. First and foremost, our flavors and our cuisine lends itself to pair with thousands of flavors and aromas that we have inside the wine world. So outside of our local wine production, it's like our food sits so well on the side of so much wines. So I think Chef is speaking about his provision tacos, and I had a little sneak peek of it. There's a little bit of sweet, sour, a little spicy, savory going on there, and so we have a off-dry Riesling that I think is going to sit extremely well with that. It's going to team some of the spices on our palate and make everything else express themselves. It has a nice acid that's going to cut through some of that texture Chef spoke about inside the provisional vegetables. With the coconut oil, I also think a nice Sauvignon Blanc with a level of sweetness, but not that level of sweetness that the off-dry Riesling has. Would be nice with that, and then I think Chef is going to pull out some nice beef tail, some nice oxtail tacos.
Didn't I tell you that we surround ourselves with experts? No, we're not joking.
Oxtail tacos gonna come at you.
Okay, so
Labor of
I
love.
mean, I think that this is the perfect segue. So we actually have Chef Jamal, who is going to be sharing with us some of the things that he's talked about. We have a cooking demo that's going to be going on right around here. So, gentlemen. Should we head on over?
Yeah.
So they're going to take a few minutes to set up. But I just want to talk a little bit more about the kind of things that we're discussing. It's your show. I'm out of this.
Alrighty, so we're inside the kitchen and I'm excited. Just a little bit of story here while Chef gets going. Chef and I actually studied culinary arts together at COB.
When it was COB.
When it was COB.
Before you.
There you go. An extra fun fact is I'm also a farmer. And I've been doing that since the 3rd grade. And when I joined Bristol's about 5 years ago, I was excited to find out that we have a backyard farm here at Bristol's as well. And so on any given Friday, you can stop in and spend your $5 and carry home enough greens and tomatoes, probably for a week or two. But in terms of the impact of backyard farming and everything, my mom hasn't bought tomatoes from the store since January 16th, right? And probably in the next 2 weeks, we're about 2 months with her not buying any salads, just to say it really resonates, this conversation this evening, and how much I could feel the savings in my pocket. But we're here, Chef, talk to me. You got something in the pot, and I see you're flipping some tortilla shells.
We're going to do some flour tortilla shells. I'm going to start with our provision taco. Very easy, very straightforward. So I'm going to show you how to build this taco. So first of all, our provision filling. We got onions, bell peppers, cassava, all the root vegetables you want, anything you want to put in the pan, cooked down with coconut milk. Like I said before, you start like you're cooking Grammy pot, the rice pot. You start that like the rice pot. And then you finish with coconut milk and you just let it cook down. And then you season it to your liking, you add the spices to your liking.
So I'm just, Chef, I want to, we're going to mix and match some terminology this evening. You say provision and root vegetable. In the wine world, we like to say earthiness. It brings a little bit of earthiness to the table. So we have in front of us a nice Louis Latour Pale Doré Pinot Noir from Burgundy, France. And for me, Burgundy Pinot Noir is just a food-friendly wine. So some earthiness is going to come through on this, but there's some acid to fight through texture. If we weren't locals, some things that we eat could be of a textural concern to us. An acid we depend on inside a wine to cut through texture and make it a little bit more palatable, a little bit more palate-friendly kind of thing. So if you're a red wine drinker, you insist on not switching from your red wine, so you might have had the Francis Coppola Merlot to get started, and you want to keep on the red wine, then I'm thinking you could stop at any of the bars, ask for a glass of Pinot Noir, and get cracking on Chef's provision taco. But my specific pairing on this provision taco with a little bit of sweet and hot and savory going on at the same time is this Riesling, Chateau Saint Michel Riesling. Some of you might have had a glass already from Washington State. It's the #1 produced Riesling inside the world. It's they partner with, in terms of volume, but they partner with the most noted Riesling producer, which is Dr. Lucen out of Germany. And I just think it's a fantastic Riesling. It is the #1 performing Riesling here inside our market. But the acid structure, the right fruit character, just makes it, heavy enough to sit on the side of this taco, but light enough for us to cut through textures and enjoy flavors. So that's on those two. And if you're not a sweet wine drinker, then we have a Riesling that has a Sauvignon Blanc from Napa Valley that has a lot of fruit character. And we're all familiar that, our fruit has a good sugar or content in it. So there's the impression that there's sweetness, but not sugar in terms of what you might get the impression of inside the Riesling. But Chef is doing his magic, and we get 2 nice, fantastic tacos being plated. And we talk about making, agriculture, culinary, food, sexy. Chef has orange on this plate in terms of color. There's some purple, I'm thinking, some pickled onions.
Pickled onions, of course. So we got
some nicely grilled flour tortilla shells, so you get some brown and some pale color coming in there. So again, we eat with our eyes and our ears and our nose before we actually put something into our mouth.
Definitely. So we have also some avocado, a little avocado aioli, along with the pickled onion, a little carrot habanero emulsion, and last we're going to finish it with just a little bit of chili coconut. Just really vegan.
So I want to just interject here, Chef. This is going to be a taco full of spice, flavor, not necessarily heat.
Right.
So for sure, Riesling tapering that off is almost like eating something hot when you're a little kid and they tell you coat your mouth with whole milk kind of thing.
Right.
So I think this Riesling is going to sit fantastic on the side of that.
Of course, we got to garnish it up, make it nice and sexy. All these sexy grains from Greenleaf Farm. Why not play around with it? Why not use it up?
There you go.
There you go.
Alrighty, so we got a provision taco, and I think you're going to work some magic for us, chef, on
Some more magic gonna work.
some oxtail.
Listen, 12-hour braised oxtail.
So we're talking about breaking down this protein. It's almost like pulled pork kind of texture, right?
Yes.
All right, so
very
we
tender, very moist, very juicy.
We're here to decide. And just wrap it up in that.
Man, this is Thursday. What is Friday all about?
Listen, Taco Thursday.
Taco Thursday, we talking.
You just want to keep
All right,
the
so-
conversation going, getting
The oxtail's nice and hot. And what we're gonna do is kind of just snide me a little bit of that fresh rosemary on the yard. So we're gonna toss it up.
Ah, there
Toss
you
it
go.
up.
Nice little toss rosemary.
Toss
fresh
it
in
up,
the
and then we're gonna
backyard.
toss it into our braised oxtail. This adds depth, smokiness to our,
So there's a rhyme and reason behind this madness, eh, chef?
of course. Get it nice and hot. Toast up our tortillas.
Super. So chef is talking about this oxtail, and we usually, it's usually braised of sorts where we, tenderize it and break down the protein itself. But that also means through that cooking process and taking that meat and making it a little bit more tender, we could come up with a softer wine to put on the side of it, eh, chef?
Definitely.
So Pinot Noir is, again, one of our softer reds that gives a little bit more elegance and floral characteristics to a red wine, but it also has an enjoyable tannin structure with bright acidity. Again, I'm going to keep talking about acid because we just needed to cut through texture. We needed to find some other acid in this dish because it's all about the flavors that chef is playing with all of the flavors that's happening inside these wines.
Yes. So we didn't boil the oxtail. What we actually did was
Braise it.
short rib style, where we actually sear the product to dry it out, and then we rehydrate once we actually put it into the stock. Yes, so we have flavor on top of flavor instead of going flavor to bland. We have flavor building, blend, building, and building. Nice and hot. Our tortillas.
Now we're talking.
Now we're gonna build this taco. 12-hour braised oxtail.
Just layers and levels of flavors that I'm just seeing being brought. It's interesting. We speak about farming and growing local, but there's something about the vibrancy and the aromas and the flavors we get from things that we grow locally in soil. I'm also a soil guy. Chef spent about 5 to 6 minutes over here really just inhaling this rosemary that I literally just clipped half an hour before we came out here this evening. So everything is just fresh that we're going to.
So with this taco, we're gonna do a roasted plantain egg. So it's gonna taste like almost like a Sunday dinner.
Yeah, plantain always shows up on a Sunday plate.
Then I made some farmer's cheese. Guess how you make cheese? It's quite simple. 2 ingredients. We have whole milk. We have a good quality vinegar.
Whole milk and good quality vinegar.
Yes, that's how you make a farmer's cheese. So we bring the whole milk to a boil. Then we slowly stir in our vinegar, and that is going to separate the curds from the whey. Strain off the curds, let it sit in the refrigerator overnight. Then you season to your liking. You could add fresh herbs, you could add lemon zest, whatever you feel like. And then you store it for about a week or so on the refrigeration. Again, with a little bit of micro.
I just want to interject here, chef. It's tacos, and a lot of time when I go in restaurants, casual, semi-formal tacos show up. So that's pretty much the trend. So what you're expressing to us is, hey, locally we could be involved in all of these trends, no ifs, ands, and buts, and just do what we do fantastically.
You could just take it to another level. The barilla taco is something big, and this is kind of a play on that, where you have that braised meat with the tortilla. You make your farmer's cheese, and then we pair it with a bit of burnt lime. Of Plus, last with a little bit of heat. Just a little bit of heat.
A little bit of heat.
A little bit of heat. A little bit of Caribbean flair. A little bit of sweet. We have that guava hot sauce. So we have another layer of flavor.
Oh man.
And there you go.
Super. So in the front of us, fantastic provision taco. 12-hour?
12-hour braised.
12-hour braised oxtail taco. Not boiled, braised. With a whole host of local food, local flavors, local herbs, local spices. Now, Chef, I'm really hungry, and I know when we dive into this, it's going to come all on the side of my mouth. That's the problem.
We go way back. You know, you got to.
Let's cheers on a glass of wine. Let's make it happen, my friend.
Let's wait for this reaction now. Wait for the reaction.
How is it?
I think they give me the sliding on that.
I think that was what I was waiting for, was the invitation.
Invite you to slide a little, you know.
All right.
She's going for the meat first, you see?
Chef, red or white Keisha?
Everything that you described, I taste each one of those ingredients. It is really good.
Now, I just want to refresh your palate right there, Keisha, while you still get some of those flavors going on. Chateau Ste. Michelle Riesling from Washington State.
Thank you.
Watch the finish.
Chef, you're misbehaving on a Thursday.
Of course.
You're really misbehaving on a
Don't
Thursday.
take no Thursday for me to
They work together.
That's what it is. So it's nothing is trying to overpower the next. It's either we're at a comfortable level or we're enhancing both kind of thing.
That's exactly what it is, because I thought it was full of flavor before, but once I added this, I see
it's an open
everything
effect.
is just, yeah,
Awesome.
bubbling up. So thank you. If it's okay with you, I would like to continue doing this.
Go right ahead, my dear.
So thank you everyone for tuning in to Food for Thought, the Locavore. I hope that you've been able to learn a little bit something about Hands for Hunger, our vision for the community, and what it will really take for us to be able to feed ourselves in the country. Thank you.
The reason.